Yeah, it is.
Well, thank you for coming and expressing your opinions to us. We appreciate it. I have a copy of the United States Constitution here.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at Article 1, Section 8, it sets forth the 20-odd powers of the federal government.
Mm-hmm.
With me?
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the government that we have constructed now, we have the following agencies and commissions: the Department of Education, Department of Energy, Department of Commerce, Labor, Agriculture, Federal Housing Administration, the Environmental Protection Agency. We have the Department of
Waste, Fraud, and Abuse,
Urban Development, Health and Human Services, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. They're all unconstitutional. So here's my question. Are you willing, along with others of like-mindedness, to begin to shrink the government, begin to bring it back under constitutional parameters, and get our country back under the Constitution?
Thank you. Well, a great question. And thank you, Dan, for asking that question. In fact, the very nature and the thread of saving this country has to go through the 10th Amendment. Let's talk about it. Everybody asked me about education. Education is our future. But can we all agree that the one size doesn't fit all? Who likes No Child Left Behind? I didn't think so. But it was done by a Republican. Okay? And what we realized is education is not a one-size-fits-all. As of the 2010 budget, that budget, if I'm not mistaken, was $11 billion. Very little went down to the local school districts. Okay, I make a proposal for you. I didn't want to do the CR cut because I want to redirect. How about we cut it in half? Take $5.5 billion and put it to the deficit. Then take the next $5.5 billion, divide it up per student across the country, and give it to the states. Oh, by the way, the state of Arizona just won their case at the U.S. Supreme Court last week.
Great.
Okay? That vouchers are constitutional. Okay? So here's the first step, is giving it back to the states where it belongs.
Yeah.
Okay? The second part about Medicaid is it was a states' rights. Health issues were a health issue for the states. The first part of this, in deriving a health care, because I am a believer that health care is broken and we need reform. It's just not the reform that we got here. Okay? There's some great things in that bill, but they're about 10 pages out of 2,000 plus pages. Okay? And if we're basing it on customer service, going for your dollars, you're going to get it. You can do that. Okay? But those are the things that we want to start with. Okay? I want to just perplex you again with the educational issue. You as taxpayers have oversight of the District of Columbia. Okay? Who wants to gander what the per student allotment of money is in the District of Columbia?
10 grand, 28,000.
Between $26,000 and $28,000 per student. They have the worst scores across the country. There was actually a voucher program started a couple years back, in which those vouchers were given to parents at basically for undergrad for K through 9 was about $8,000, and for 9 through 12 was about $12,000, of which incredible scores started to occur. Even the public schools started to come up. Okay? Why? Because we got parents making a decision and getting involved. You cannot put a teacher in a school, in a classroom, doing discipline, making sure they're fed, making sure that all these things are happening without the involvement of a parent.
Right.
You have to have a parent. It actually works. So we are addressing it one by one by one. Okay? In that CR, there was a defunding of 4 of the czars. We want all of them. Okay? But that's what happens when you're 1/2 of 1/3 of the federal government.
Did you say parent or parent?
Parents or parent, doesn't matter.
Yeah. How many of those?
But the power of that. But if you take just what I was telling you about that $5.5 billion, there's actually more money that comes out of the No Child Left Behind at the school level than what came through before. I'm happy to say a Republican project doesn't work. We ought to be looking at it that way. Rise to the Top's got some great opportunities, too, in it that the president put forward. But it's not going to work. I want 50 incubators across this country with numerous models to show me how we're going to get our kids back into education. Because I just showed you, it's not based about money. At $28,000 or $26,000 on the low end per student in the District of Columbia, we're not getting our results. Plain and simple. It is not related to cash. Where are we going? I don't know where Penny is.
You don't call on any women.
What's that? I'm not calling. I'm just walking. I'm just walking.
I said you've only called on 2 women.
I'm not calling on anybody. She's picking those out.
If you'll raise your hand, I will come right over there.
Penny,
You're not,
Penny, we only have time for 2 more questions, folks. I'm very sorry. Now, here's the good thing is Dr. Gosar is coming back to visit with us, and his staff is in the back of the room in case y'all have individual questions. And I'm really sorry, but we can only take 2 more questions.
all right, I told Mr. Sherrill he could be next, and then I'm gonna hide my hands behind my back for the secret number, and whoever gets closest to that can get the next one.
Doctor, I really want to thank you for coming this evening because it's wonderful to talk to somebody who likes to stand and face the music. And you really have stepped up to the plate. I really do appreciate it. I've lived here in Sedona for 23 years. And, my grandfather, he told me many years ago that there was always more people that wanted to ride on the wagon than wanted to pull the wagon. And he had a 4th grade education and retired as a very successful businessman. I've worked every day since I was 13. My first job was cutting chickens in Grandma's Chicken Shack for 90 cents an hour. My dad retired at 55 many years ago. Well, I'm going to have to work to 65, and I won't have as much in my basket as he did when he retired. And he said that the government was impeding jobs. I agree with you totally. I'm going to ask you a question, and I just want to see if you agree with me. Unemployment insurance has been paid now for how long?
We got 99 and extending.
Is it 3 years now? 4 years? I don't know. But people say that there's jobs out there that Americans won't take, that we're filling with other people. My question to you is, if we did away with unemployment insurance, wouldn't these people, and I know they would, go out and find jobs because they're out there? McDonald's is hiring 700,000 people. They just announced this last week. The case in point, a friend of mine owns a rent house down in Phoenix. His renter called him and said, I'm going to have trouble making my rent payment after November because unemployment insurance is running out. But then Congress renewed it. And he said, I don't have to worry about it anymore. I'll be able to make my rent because I don't have to go out and get a job. So, do you agree with me that if we cut back and weaned off unemployment insurance, that our unemployment rate would go down?
Well, I see a lot of folks here, and I'm going to ask the next question. Who remembers the CCC?
By the way, NAU Public Radio had a show, I think American Experience,
Yep.
on the CCC last fall. I recorded and saved it. It's absolutely wonderful. It's
Yep.
very interesting.
It's an opportunity. And if you look at it, if you don't review history, you're doomed to repeat history. And so what we have to do is, I do believe that people want to have a job, and let's give them that job. The problem is that in one of the cases that we're going to find without the CCC is this last quarter, we brought in 84,000 jobs across the board. The problem is most of them are below